Welcome to Car Sales Talk 101, where it's all about life in the car business. Telling you like it is. Here's the man with the plan, Terry Cameron. Let's get started.
Welcome back to Car Sales Talk 101. I'm Terry Cameron. Thanks for hanging out with me again this week. I know it's been a little while since my last episode, but you know what? I don't have a whole lot of time. I'm not sure if I mentioned this before, but I took a new position at a new dealership, and that takes an awful lot of my time. And the free time that I do have, I like to spend that with my granddaughter as much as I can and with my wife. Because you know, in the car business, there's not a whole lot of free time. I also still have some hobbies that I like. I still like to mountain bike ride. And it's just hard to find time to sit down in front of this microphone and talk about things that I'm afraid I might have talked about before. Hopefully, I'm not going to do that this week. This week, I want to talk about structure and how structure works in the dealership. And that's because if you don't have structure, if you don't have, like we called it in the military, SOPs, standard operating procedures, chances are you're not going to be successful. Any successful company, any successful person that you know has a process. And they're successful because that process works and they repeat that process over and over and over again. In the car business, sometimes we like to call it road to the sale, but I'm not necessarily just talking about the steps you take, the procedures, in the roadmap to the sale, from the meet and greet to the delivery. I'm talking about what you do when you're not with a customer, when you're not doing your presentations. There's some certain things that you have to do. So I want you to think about that. Think about some companies and what they do that are successful. Look around in your business and who is the top people in your business? Do they have a procedure? Do they have SOPs? Do they have structure? I think they would. It's kind of hard to come to work and just wing it. Or as Joe Verdi would say, come to work to wait instead of come to work to work. You ought to have a plan every single day. And you need structure, and you need to be held to that structure's guidelines. Don't be afraid to do the same thing over and over again when it works. So again, I talked about how this is very, very important on the new car side. But now that I'm in the used car business again, it's just as important in the used car business to have structure. You need to know what you're doing when you come to work. And let me ask you guys this question. When you show up for work today, or you show up for work tomorrow, do you already have a plan? What are you going to do? What are you going to do when you get there? I recently left a dealership that we had meetings every single morning. Well, maybe not every single morning. We did, not on Saturdays. But Monday through Friday, we had a meeting. And at one point in time, it was mandatory that everybody was there. Everybody was there. When I talk about everybody, I mean all sales managers, all salespeople, finance department. They all had to be there. And it was never supposed to be a bitch session, and it really wasn't, at least not to the end of my tenure, but it was supposed to be a way to start your day, a way to start your day positive. Watching a video, listen to a podcast, go over some training, something to get you started the right way every single day. And then from that point, you had something lined out. As a matter of fact, I had at one time a form that that salespeople had to fill out that of certain tasks that they had to do each day by what time. And it wasn't overwhelming stuff. It might have been 10 phone calls. Did you make your 10 phone calls? And write down who you did that with. And I know a lot of us use CRMs and they put that in there. But when you have to write things down, you tend to remember them a little bit more. Post a couple things on Facebook. Things like that. Talk to as many customers as you can. Practice on doing a presentation with somebody. Role play. These were the tasks that were assigned to everybody to do every single day by a certain time. And at the end of the day, they turned that sheet in, and they usually, and not all the time, but the people that took it seriously, usually after doing all of these things, this SOP, these procedures, that standard operating procedures, had a positive day, either that day or planned for the next day. Because let's face it, not all of us are going to sell a car every single day, which is okay. But at the end of the day, if you didn't sell a car, but you followed all the standard operating procedures, you followed the structure, you did exactly what you're supposed to do, you got a really good chance of setting tomorrow up to be successful. So structure is real important. Think about that person in your company who is very, very successful. What do they do every day? They don't come to work to wait. They come to work to work. They do things all day long. I have a gentleman that works with me, and every time I look up, he's on the phone. And yeah, he's smiling sometimes, but he's smiling because he's talking with his customers, or what I like to call them is more like clients. Once they become they buy a car from you, or at least try to buy a car from you, now they're your client, and you need to take care of them that way. Now, let's switch to the used car side. Used cars need just as much structure as new cars. If you don't know what you're doing when you come to work in the morning, what are you going to do when you get there? I know what the answer is. I'm going to work hard. I'm going to make my phone calls. But it doesn't happen that way. We come to work to wait. And just because a used car customer does not send in surveys, they do write reviews. Just recently, we had a customer come purchase a truck from us, and he spent a lot of money on this truck, and he spent a lot of research on where he was going to buy it. And he told us, I would never. I've been in the body shop business for 30 years in the area, and I would never come to your town to buy a car. That's all we used to ever hear. Don't go there; they'll rip you off. But when I started researching it, and I saw the reviews that you had, I came down here. Not only did I come down here to buy a car, I came down here and I asked for a salesperson specifically. Again, this salesperson is successful, very successful, but he doesn't come to work to wait. He has structure in his day. He knows what he has to do, and he knows what time he has to have it done by, and he knows what's going to happen if he does it. By the same token, he knows what's going to happen if he doesn't follow these procedures. Sometimes I notice that the most popular person on the showroom is having so much fun and joking, and people tend to gravitate towards them because they're popular. And if you think back, now it's hard for me to think back that far, but think back in high school, the popular people, the party people, they're the ones that everybody kind of gravitated to because we wanted to be fun. Everybody wanted to be happy and have fun at the same time. They're not the ones that have structure. They're the ones that rely on everybody else liking them and making them feel like they're successful and they're the big dogs. The one that is the people that are set off on their side from everybody else, that are on the phone making phone calls, that are working on their CRM, turning it into an ATM. They're the ones that nobody wants to gravitate to because they're hard at it and they don't have time to be bullshitting. Really. They don't have time to teach you how to do what you're supposed to do. Now that the other people that are having lots of fun, they have all the time in the world, and they will, even without trying, teach you how to sell 6, 7, 8 cars a month. And every once in a while, you get lucky and sell 10 or 12. That's not what you want to do. So I want you to think about structure. What you ought to do, and I mean do it right away, is sit down and write out your average day. What is your day like? It's just like a new salesperson, or potential salesperson ask me, hey, what's a day like here for a salesperson? You need to know the answer to that question. What is a day in your life at your dealership like? Every single day. Write it down. If you have to, write it down with the time you did it. At 8:31 a.m., I showed up for work. At 8:45, I finished my first cup of coffee. Write that stuff down. Write that stuff down. And chances are, if you're not involved in some task that's going to help you sell a car sooner down the road a bit, you're going to realize when you write these tasks down why you only sell 6 to 8 cars a month. When you start taking this serious and you start coming to work, and I mean right away, write down how you want your day to be and hold yourself accountable. When I sold cars, absolutely nobody bothered me during my phone call time. I was going to make my 20 to 25 phone calls, and I was going to do everything I could to talk to those people. Nobody bothered me. I had the time I wanted to do it, and I made sure I did it every single day. You know how many people came over and wanted to hang out with me? You're right. None. Because I wasn't the fun guy. It's not that they didn't like me. It's just that I wasn't having fun. I was working. So get some structure in your life. And if you don't know what it is, ask. Ask me. Shoot me an email. The lady's going to give you my email address at the end of this podcast. I'll tell you what your day should be like. I'll tell you the things you should be accomplishing, or at least attempting to accomplish every single day. But I really think that if you sat down and thought about it and wrote it out, what you needed to do, and then sometimes a CRM will help you do that, you'll figure it out on your own. You don't have to be the popular guy. Not when you're making all the money. Because who matters there? The people you're going home to, and that's it. Not the people that you spend all day with smoking and joking. Get some structure in your life. Get some structure in your life while you're at work, and watch what happens to your numbers. Don't just come to work to wait. Come to work to work. Remember, the sky's the limit. I'll see you in a week or two.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode. Please rate it and write a review on Apple Podcast. We appreciate your valuable feedback. You can email Terry at 10minutesalestalk@hot.rr.com. And don't forget to share the show with a friend.